watch. But Trace McSorley threw a touchdown, man. It's Hollywood Brown.
Dude, the Steelers defense tweaked on that one.
That was Minka got cooked.
Minka got cooked, and then that cornerback that came up. I don't know where he was what he was trying to do, if he was trying to bat that ball, but he went literally right behind Hollywood. It literally dove right. I don't know what he was doing. And then Minka just looked lost.
Yeah, he did.
That was bad.
Let me send this link to some people, and then we are gonna go.
All right.
All right. So for news, we're going to talk LeBron's extension. I want to talk about the coaches that have gotten fired and how you would rank those 3 jobs in terms of the job that you want. So that's Lions, Texans, Falcons.
Okay.
So between those teams, we'll go around, we'll rank them 1 through 3 in your opinion. And then I've just got some stuff that I'll just go through.
Right.
We're not going to comment about the LeBron thing, but
it's not that mean. It's nothing crazy. So
yeah, I'm just going to bring that up, and then we'll talk about the NBA after that.
All right, cool.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 34 of the Unfinished Business Podcast, hosted by me, Tristan Beckman, my 2 guys, the co-host, Broderick Beecham, Caleb Ball. What's going on, fellas?
What's going on, everybody?
What's up?
Season 4, man. We made it to season 4. We took a week off. It's a wild thing going on right now. Just take the COVID seriously. I would suggest that. But we are back after it was a pretty boring week last week anyway. I don't think we really needed to talk about NFL. Pretty boring slate. Not like this one's much better. But first episode of season 4. We're really pumped to be back at you guys with some exciting content. We're going to try to get some guests on this season, as always, and we really do appreciate the support from you guys. We hope it gets even bigger as we begin to produce content for this 4th season. Today, we have an exciting episode on tap. We're going to talk about some of the NBA offseason, some of the biggest storylines, some of the big teams, and then we'll also preview and predict some of the NFL games, that are coming up. And we will also talk about some of the latest sports news, have a little discussion in there. Before we get into all the predictions for the NFL and talk about the NBA, we're going to talk about some of the biggest news going around in the sports world right now. First up, pretty big news. I was not expecting this. I got a haircut today, and then after that, I saw this, and I was like, oh, wow. I didn't expect this to happen. Los Angeles Lakers star LeBron James signed an extension, 2 years, $85 million extension with the franchise. So his contract runs through 2023, and that is when Bronny graduates high school and could have the option to enter the NBA draft if the league and NBA Players Association decide to change the high school to pro rule. I'm not going to lie. It'd be crazy to see LeBron and Bronny team up. He might not have that many years left, but if he can get that and play a year there, that'd be really cool to see. Bradley Roby and Will Fuller, this was a pretty interesting story over the weekend. They both got suspended for 6 games for PEDs. And they stem from the same supplements that are banned from pretty much the same medical professionals. So something's going on in Houston that's not really supposed to be happening. Will Fuller specifically is a big loss for them, and he was having a really good year, and Brod can attest to this. He made the Lions secondary look really ugly on Sunday. And I do want to ask you guys this. I forgot to say this before. But Will Fuller's a free agent this year, and he's going into next year with a game suspension. He'll have 1 game to serve. With his injury history, and, he's really had a great year this year, though, I'll be that. Would you pay Will Fuller quality money, like a Robbie Anderson type contract for Will Fuller? Would you guys give that to him if you were a GM?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like he can be a big impact on any NFL team, really. I think he's a great wide receiver. And I think him staying healthy this year is good for him. I think that gave him the ability to show teams that he can play for long periods of time. So I would definitely give him quality money. I wouldn't give him big money just yet, but decent amount of money, quality money wouldn't be a bad idea, especially for Green Bay or somebody like that really could use the weapons.
Yeah, Green Bay talked about acquiring him at the trade deadline. They didn't do it, and probably now in their best interest in retrospect with the suspension. Caleb, you got any thoughts on the Will Fuller thing?
Yeah, man, it's just when he is healthy, is good for 100 yards. He's such a great speedster, great deep threat. Doesn't have the greatest route running, but doesn't really matter when you can't teach speed. So he's really unfair when he's out there. As long as he can stay healthy, I don't see why not to get paid a good amount of money.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good player, and he's had a great year, career year for him. And it sucks that it had to end with the PED suspension. Um, Interesting quote from Jerry Jones, but that seems to be all we get from Jerry Jones nowadays. He compared the Cowboys' seventh-round pick quarterback, Ben DiNucci. If you remember correctly, he started like a few weeks ago on Sunday Night Football against the Eagles, had an entire week of practice. He compared that to the practice squad receiver, Kendall Hinton, having to start for the Broncos at quarterback. Um, I do want to get y'all's opinions on this because Jerry, man, he seems to be firing out quotes like, he fires out a bad quote about Dak, and then now he's firing out quotes about this. For me, I don't think these situations are comparable. What are your all's thoughts here?
These guys say something, man. Got to keep the Cowboys in the news. They ain't winning games, so he has to say something at this point. Got to keep them somewhere. So, I mean, in a sense, I get what he's saying because, I mean, what I would take from it is what he's essentially saying is like, don't cry because other teams have quarterback issues. Now, I understand that of course, he hasn't taken any snaps, and DiNucci did take snaps in practice as the quarterback. But hopefully what he's essentially saying is that other people have quarterback issues, so he doesn't want other people complaining is what I would take from that. So, I mean, at the end of the day, the situations are a little bit different, but if he's saying it how I think or how I think he would be saying it, I understand it.
Caleb, anything from you on that?
I mean, Rod kind of hit it on the head. Jerry's all about the money, so might as well try and do everything he can to stay in the media to get his money up. So I understand.
Yeah, I just think it's a brutal quote. That situation was brutal to watch. It was tough to watch. I had the game on for as long as I could. I turned it off at halftime. I couldn't watch anymore. It was so brutal. And it really sucks for the players, for both teams. Like, it's just not competitive. And I get it. Roger Goodell, he wants to, get as many games in as possible. But at some point, we got to make sure we preserve the competitive balance of the league. And I hope this doesn't have to happen to anybody else because it's tough to watch a team without a quarterback play, as it would sound. And then an interesting discussion here. Lions fired coach Matt Patricia and GM Bob Quinn. Broad's celebrating. I figured we were getting to the point, especially after they got embarrassed on Thanksgiving by the Texans. And, I didn't know if they would do it mid-season, but they did. And here it is. We had that article a couple weeks ago about Patricia trying to implement the Patriot way in Detroit. And offensive coordinator Darrell Bevell is stepping in as the interim coach. Don't think he'll be the full-time head coach after this year. So this leaves the Falcons, the Lions, and the Texans as teams who have already cut ties with their head coaches this year. Presumably, we're going to go ahead and say the Jags and the Jets are going to join those teams. So out of those 5 coaching spots, I just wanted us to rank them in terms of the appeal. Caleb, I'll start with you. You got Jags, Jets, Falcons, Lions, Texans. What job do you think is the most appealing, and what job do you think is the least?
I think for me, the most appealing would be the Texans just because of Deshaun. I think that he has a skill set to really lead a team. He's really good. And I think the least appealing just has to I want to say the Jets, but they're going to have the number 1 pick. So as long as they don't mess it up, they should be good, hopefully, in a couple seasons. So I'll say the Jaguars. I'll say the Jaguars are least appealing because they're never going to get a free agent huge. They're never going to, I feel like, never going to draft well. They just don't have a good team right now. I would say the Jaguars.
Yeah, that's what I was leaning towards. I think the Texans is definitely a top 2.
Yeah.
I'd go either Texans or Falcons, I think, right now is the acceptable choice. Because the Falcons, I think their roster it's a contender roster with a few holes that are gaping. And, the coaching is a big part of what they've had to go through these last couple of years. And, with Matt Ryan on his last legs, they can make a playoff run, I think. But the Texans with Deshaun Watson on the extension, the only issue with them is the picks. They don't have that many picks right now because Bill O'Brien has left this team just in ramaged. Like, they've been ramaged of all their picks. Dude, it's been awful. The Dolphins have their first rounder this year. So that sucks. Lions, I would say, is number 3 because you have Matthew Stafford. You know, you can even if you don't keep Matthew Stafford, you envision the Lions will have a pretty high pick in the draft, and they can try to rebuild around a new face of the franchise. And they have talent on their team. Kenny Galladay, T.J. Hawkinson's had a really good year. Jeff Okuda, you expect he'll figure it out. Jags, Jets, man. I'm gonna go Jets, Jags in that order because the Jaguars are a mess. It's the biggest joke of a franchise other than Cleveland in the league. If you look at the history of the last 20 years, and dude, they just don't have the Jets have the roster. I will say they have the defensive roster to be a top 16 defense next season. That is my opinion because I like Marcus May. I like a lot of the guys they have. I like Quinnen Williams. I think if they can keep building on that, they'll have all those high draft picks. They have cap space. They have to keep building on that. Get some guys in there to restore the culture. I like what the Jets are doing. If they get Trevor Lawrence, and you figure that's like a potential landing spot for any wide receiver. Denzel Mims has been impressive. I'll go Jets 4, Jags 5, but those two aren't really that appealing to me. Brad, what's your take on this?
Well, all 5 of these organizations are dumpster fires, if we're being honest with this. Like, all of these organizations really suck. There's no, like, past, present, or future. There's not too much to look at. I would say that, like, the way I would take it, which I agree with y'all, is that you have to look at it because the Texans have the best player out of those 5 teams in the most important position with Deshaun Watson. So you can build around that. They have Brandon Cooks, who's having a good year. Someone could come in and re-sign Will Fuller. I think their biggest issues are on the defensive side of the football. I mean, of course, their offensive line they have a whole bunch of work to get done, but I feel like they could build around Deshaun and be great. And then the Falcons and Lions, I feel like, in my opinion, you could switch either or at the 2 or 3 spots. I mean, at the end of the day, with the Lions, with me, I really want to see how they play under Coach Bevel because I saw a lot of reports that guys weren't given 100% for Matt Patricia on the field. So some of the performance that you saw from some of the guys on the field was possibly because of the coaching situation. So I kind of want to see how they play under Bevels to see what kind of situation we're looking at here. Because I saw a quote from Jesse James saying this was the hardest season he's ever been through. So there's a lot of stuff about Matt Patricia. And then after that, Jets, Jags. I'll go Jags last because the Jets are going to get the number 1 pick. They have talent on defense, like you said, and they're going to move Sam Darnold. So they're going to get another asset for that, maybe some type of pick. Wherever it's at, Sam Darnold's young. I'm sure a team would be willing to spend a second rounder, maybe first, possibly on a young quarterback if they believe in him enough. And the Jags, I don't know. I never believed in. I don't ever believe in them. They've been a dumpster fire this year, and I just don't think that they're going to be any good in the future.
The crazy thing is, like on paper, the Jags have been pretty competitive in most of their games, but the roster, it's not sustainable, and we know that. And there's so many holes, and the GM's they're a dumpster fire. Probably GM and head coach get fired. I think they actually fired their GM last week. So
I think they'll clean house. I think they'll clean house for the most part.
Yeah. You made a good point about Bevell. I did see a quote today. It says they're going to try to play more up tempo, more fast on offense. So we'll see how that works out. I think if they can get Swift back this week, which they should. I don't know if they'll get Galladay back this week, but you can start to see maybe a little bit of a new look Lions team for the remainder of the season. But you don't want it to an extent where they play themselves out of a high draft pick at this point. That is going to be it for the news. Let's get into this NBA offseason roundtable discussion because when we last spoke, we had our episode, we had that NBA draft, like a little recap, live watch party. A lot happened. Free agency happened. Trades happened. First question's got to be about the Atlanta Hawks. It's a team that we talked about. What do you all see their status being right now in the Eastern Conference, which we know it's not historically been great top to bottom, but the moves that the Hawks made, Rajon Rondo, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Danilo Gallinari, among others, Onyeka Okongwu. How do you guys feel about this Hawks team, and do you guys think they can be an upper echelon playoff team in the East this year?
Yeah, I definitely believe so. I'm actually going to go as far as to say that their ceiling is going to be a first round win in the playoffs, and that might be a little high. And I'm aware of that. I'm higher on them than most people, but I mean the team is loaded with offensive firepower. Like that, the starting lineup is ridiculous with Gallinari, Bogdan, and Trey, and then you still have Clint and John Collins too, and then coming off the bench, Rondo, Dunn, Reddish, Hunter. and Okongwu with their draft pick. So they've got ridiculous amount of depth and they're set for the future. Absolutely. So I'm very high on this Hawks team. I think they could maybe get a 6 or 7 seed in the East, maybe 5 if they play really well during the regular season. And I think they could possibly shock somebody in the tournament.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point. They did get a lot better. They made a lot of moves. I don't think many people expected them to go after this many players. But they were bad last year. I think that's what a lot of people forget. It's going to take a big improvement. I think playoffs is not out of the question. Like, they could definitely be a lower end playoff team. I'd say ceiling is around a 5 or 6, but I could see them missing the playoffs with this roster. You know, it's a shortened training camp. Going to take a little while to get acclimated to the chemistries and stuff. You know, I don't know. We'll have to see how Trae Young improves as well. Caleb, thoughts on this Hawks team?
Yeah, I agree with you all about the offensive side of the ball, but I'm gonna make a point right now to say that I think they're gonna be one of the worst defensive teams in the league. And I think it doesn't really come as a surprise. They're a team full of great offensive players that have lacked defense in the past. So games where they might put up, crazy numbers, 130, 128, whatever, they're going to have games where they allow the same amount of points because they just don't have just a really good lockdown, tenacious defender, and all of their great offensive players are mediocre at best at defense. So I think they're still a good team. I think for me, 7 seeds kind of where I'm going to leave them at because I think that they are going to allow too many of those high-scoring games. But I think they're still a good team. They're definitely built for the future. They have some great players. They're tying up a good amount of money right now, but obviously when you have that many young assets, you're able to do that. So I think it's a good offseason, but definitely not where they need to be yet.
Yeah, my thing with the defense is actually I agree with you in a sense. I just feel like they did get better defensively though. With Chris Dunn, who is a very underrated defender in this league, and Rondo, we already know what he can do. And then Okongwu, they're hoping can be a rim protector. But for the most part, Capella is a pretty decent rim protector. I wouldn't call him, an amazing rim protector, but he can protect the rim pretty well. So I would say that their defense got better, and they have Hunter, who they believe can be a lockdown in the future. So I feel like their defense isn't where it needs to be, but it got better in the offseason. I wouldn't say significantly, but a decent amount.
I'd say slightly. They still need to work on Trae. His defense,
yeah, absolutely,
is big. One real quick, just so I get this out of the way, before we go deeper into the NBA, Steelers do fear that outside linebacker Bud Dupree, his initial test results show he may have torn his ACL after exiting game against the Ravens. That would be a huge loss for the Steelers. We'll talk about them here in a little bit, but I just want to get that out of the way for that. Back to NBA, big trade. Probably, unless I'm forgetting a trade, this is probably one of the bigger trades of the offseason. Drew Holiday goes from the Pelicans to Milwaukee. This was a huge deal. It involved 4 teams after when it was all said and done. And the Pelicans, they kind of been hinting towards wanting to move on. They want to just kind of get some assets for Drew, who I think was going to hit free agency soon. Caleb, I'll start with you, man. Does this move the needle for the Bucks, and are they a championship? Are they the Eastern Conference favorite?
I don't know if I'd still put them Eastern Conference favorites. I think if you would have told me before this last playoff run happened that they were getting Drew Holiday, I would say that it's not even in question. But after watching Giannis in the playoffs, it seems that teams have very easy formulas to stop him. So I think that while he's going to be a beast in the regular season again, I think that the playoffs is where he's going to struggle. Drew Holiday definitely brings that, defensive 3-point ability. He's good all around. They have Eric Bledsoe next to him, so maybe that'll be a good dynamic defensive duo. But I just don't see the points flowing as easily as they did last year, and last year is still a struggle. So I don't think it moved the needle yet.
Yeah, that's true. Brad, what's your thoughts on this move?
I think it moved it slightly, but I'm a guy who's high on the Nets, so I don't think they're the favorites. I really think the Nets, in my opinion, are the favorites to win the Eastern Conference. But it's just Holiday brings this. I think Holiday will be good for them though, because in the playoffs it'll help Giannis because he's somebody that can go get his own shot differently than Middleton. Middleton can't off the dribble. I don't think Middleton can really go get his own shot. Drew's a different type of guy. He can drive, step back, create space. So I think that's going to help Giannis a lot more. And hopefully that they can spread the floor out a little bit more with Giannis, and that way teams won't be able to pack line in the playoffs as much as they have been. So I think it moves the needle a little bit, but I still don't think that they're favorites in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know who I'd put over them, honestly, though. It's like the Celtics, I don't know if they got better at all.
They did.
The Heat maybe got a little bit better, but you never know what happens in the bubble if it's not in the bubble. You don't know if they actually make the finals. The Raptors, I don't know, man. Who knows? We will have to see. The East is actually wide open, and we'll have to see what happens there. The Clippers, I just want to read some of these quotes from this story that is ridiculous this morning. It's like the Clippers it's just like a drama like filled organization right now with Kawhi and PG and all them. So one, I will add, PG appeared on a podcast today, and I don't know if you guys saw the video. He's basically said that they did not make any adjustments after they went up 3-1 and lost the 3-1 game to the Nuggets. He said they did not make any adjustments because they were just confident that they had the guys that would be talented enough to win to close the series. I mean, that's ridiculous. First off, what is Doc Rivers doing? That's probably why he lost his job. And then here's some quotes from the story today that came out about the Clippers. Here's some stuff about Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George were the only players to have their own personal security guards and trainers travel with the team. They had power over the team's practice and travel schedule, leading teammates to believe that Kawhi Leonard was the reason that multiple practices were canceled. Leonard was allowed to live in San Diego and commute from there, which often made him late for team flights. Leonard and George typically didn't speak to the media until at least 45 minutes after games concluded under the guise of post-game treatment or workouts. This usually resulted in their teammates speaking with the media first and for longer, essentially becoming public voices of the team. Teammates also believed that Leonard and George were able to pick and choose when they played. Not only did they sit out games entirely, but also at times they accepted or declined playing time in the moment. Man, the Clippers, dude, they're a disaster. First off, how did we feel about their offseason? They traded Landry Shamet. They lost Montrezl Harrell in free agency. They lost, off the top of my head, JaMychal Green. He went to Denver. They add Serge Ibaka, Nicholas Batum, and traded for Luke Kennard. They got back Reggie Jackson last night. I don't know, man. I'm not a fan of the offseason. I still think there's some issues with this team. Brad, I'll start with you.
They got the rim protector they needed in Serge. So, I mean, that was, I guess, a hole that they needed to fill. Shooting, I mean, I feel like they're just as good. I think Kennard's maybe a more consistent shooter than Shamet. Batum, don't really care. Reggie, it's a good point guard to have off the bench. So, I mean, it's okay. I mean, I really think they're in the same position that they really were in last year.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think that's what it is. I think they got a rim protector in Serge. I think that can help a little bit. But at this point, I think it comes down to the coach. And is the coach going to give, like we heard, is the coach going to give Kawhi and Paul George special treatment? If that happens, they won't win a championship. Like you can't. I just don't think you can have that on a team. People don't deserve special treatments. If the coach can galvanize the team and they can have better chemistry and they can play like a team this year, they have a shot at a title. I'm not going to put them as favorites by any means anymore. I don't believe in them. Right now, it's the Lakers full-heartedly. So I think that the moves, they could just really all they did was added a rim protector, and I don't really think there was too much else that they've done significantly over the offseason.
I mean, the biggest need for me coming out of the playoffs for them was a point guard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they wanted Rondo. He didn't even want to go there, which did not surprise me, by the way. I didn't think Rondo would go to the Clippers. Caleb, I mean,
I think they got better. I really do. I think that Kennard is sizably better than Shamet. I think that Serge is going to be used off the bench because they'll probably still start Zubac. He's going to play good. But that doesn't excuse the fact that they do have two of the biggest princesses in the world on their team. And I think that I don't think that it was the coach. I feel like it was Ballmer. I think that he's kind of ever since Kawhi got there just playing his favorites. He's using that card to say, hey, you came here, you can do whatever you want type of thing. And I think that Kawhi kind of took that over and said, you know what, I'm going to take advantage of this. So I think that's why all of that happened last season. I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen again because that's just how Ballmer is. He just wants to succeed in the regular season. He claims he wants playoff success, but we've seen that he doesn't really care about that. So, but yeah, I think that they got better. but I still don't think they're to the point where they need to be to compete with other Western teams.
Yeah, I agree. I will say Luke Kennard, I'm not a big fan of the acquisition. I know he's a better shooter than Shamet, but he's one of the worst on-ball defenders in the league.
Oh, yeah.
And they need guys that LeBron James is not going to target in the pick and roll late game, and he's going to be one of those guys.
I mean, Shamet was too. I think they had to get rid of Shamet anyway.
Yeah, they didn't really play Shamet, though. I mean, I felt like he didn't play as much, and Kennard's going to get minutes, I feel like. I will say also, what was I going to say? Lou Will. I mean, I think he has to get traded. There's no way they can run it back with him there. He's not the guy they need, but I don't think anybody wants Lou Will. I'm going to be real with you guys. I think he would be better off on a non-contending team where he could just get up his numbers. I just don't know. We'll see how Serge plays with him, but I agree with Caleb. I think Ballmer's afraid that he's going to lose these two next offseason when they can opt out. And I think that at this rate, they will, because the Clippers are just a joke. They're a disastrous franchise.
If they don't win, both of them will opt out.
It's a disaster. I mean, they've never made the Western Conference Finals. I mean, it's just a joke. And it's getting to the point with the 3-1 lead. It was hilarious. But now there's serious pressure on the Clippers to do something this year. On the other side of the locker room, Staples Center, the Lakers, I mean, they got better. There's no doubt about it. There are concerns, though. I'm not going to be a biased Lakers fan and say I'm not concerned with some of the players that we got. And, there's some guys we lost that I didn't really want to lose. Didn't really want to lose Avery Bradley, but I know that we won a championship without him. So it's not the biggest loss. Rondo was a tough loss, but with who we got in to replace him, I'm not mad about it. Not mad about Danny Green, honestly. Broad and Caleb, if you guys know me, I'm not that mad. Danny Green, I really appreciated what he did, but we need a more consistent guy. They add Montrezl Harrell, who I think will be better in the Lakers, but I still think that he has to improve his defense and be more valuable on that side of the ball. Wesley Matthews, I think, is Danny Green, but 1/5 of the price cheaper. I love the Marc Gasol move. Putting his basketball IQ with LeBron's and AD's is insane. And I like getting back Markieff Morris as well. And then the biggest move of all is probably Dennis Schroeder. And Broad watched a lot of Schroeder last year. He probably honestly deserves 6th man of the year. And what he did in the playoffs was pretty remarkable. He played really well. He was a big part of that Thunder team, being able to push Houston to 7. And I really did like that acquisition. Broad, I'm going to go to you first, and then I'll go to Caleb since he's the Lakers fan. What's your thoughts on the Lakers offseason? And, they added a lot of guys.
Yeah, I guess their biggest hole is they really don't have a point guard. And I mean, at the end of the day, LeBron's a point guard. If you want to say that, like right. LeBron's going to be the point guard. But they lost Rondo and Bradley, and Schroeder's not a point guard. Like, he's a scoring guard. That's what he does. He scores the basketball. He doesn't. So at the end of the day, I guess that'd be their only concern. I really like the moves they had. And I think even without these moves, they would be favorites. But this just kind of solidified them being favorites. I enjoyed the Montrezl Harrell acquisition. We all thought he was probably going to go chase money. I think he just wanted to win at this point. I think he was pissed.
He wants to win, man.
Yeah, I think he was pissed about the Clippers not having the success that he wanted and probably thought that they were going to have. So he said, all right, I'm just going to go across the street and I'm going to win a championship at this point. So I like the moves. I like everything that they did. Whatever they lost, for the most part, they gained except for a point guard. And at the end of the day, LeBron can play the point guard. So it's really not that big of a loss.
I also think Caruso they're going to expect him to fill a lot more minutes. He can play that role, and he really proved that in the postseason. And then they brought back KCP. I didn't even mention that. They brought him back, and they lost Dwight Howard. I was really upset about Dwight, but Marc Gasol isn't that big of a downgrade, I guess. And I'm glad we kind of got JaVale McGee off our hands. Caleb, what's your thoughts on the offseason of the Lakers and just kind of how they go from here?
Yeah, man. After seeing Danny leave, it kind of gave me some hope because after that playoff run, no shooter like that deserves to be on a contending team. So I completely like that move. But I texted you when it happened. I haven't watched a whole lot of Wesley in the past, but going back through the stats, he had a decent season last year. So it seems like he can definitely fill that role if he needs to. And I mean, after the end of the season that KCP had last year, I don't expect him to step down at all. I expect him to have a bigger role in the offense. So I think he's going to be huge. And I think this team really did just get better. I think that there's pieces that we lost, like you talked about, that really suck, but we got better at a lot of different spots, and it's really going to help us propel to fight for another championship.
Yep. And in the end, it just comes down to one thing, and it's the fact that the Lakers have 2 top 5 players in the NBA right now.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say is I don't like how people have been treating Trez, man. I really don't. On Twitter, like he's the one getting scapegoated for the Clippers losing. And yet, while he wasn't great, he was not great in that series against the Nuggets. There is no reason to absolve Kawhi Leonard and Paul George of any blame.
Who was great? Like,
I
let's
mean,
be
yeah,
honest.
like who exactly? Who was great? Lou Will was awful. Kawhi was awful in Game 7. Paul George is awful basically the entire series. And Montrez, okay, he had a tough series, but he was going through a lot, man. He had I think his grandmother passed away right before the bubble. He had held with like a little suspension thing before when he got there. And it's a tough situation, and I just don't think he was appreciated in the Clippers. And I think he was one of those people that was in that article we were talking about. He's one of those guys that was upset. He didn't like the way that Kawhi and PG were getting treated, and he was probably outspoken about that. I'm interested to see how he fits alongside LeBron and AD. Obviously, it's the clutch Schwartz Lakers at this point. That's what it is.
Getting mad at the 5th scoring option on a team for not winning a series is ridiculous.
Yeah,
there's
is crazy.
There's more blame to go around than Montrezl Harrell. I can guarantee.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And Clippers fans, they tried to offset the loss, and they're like, "Oh, it doesn't matter. We lost him." You're losing somebody. You're not going to don't act like losing the 6th man of the year is losing nothing just because you had one bad playoff series. Okay, you're losing something. But yeah, that's something I wanted to get off my chest. Who had your favorite offseason? This is tough because I was going back and forth, but I'm gonna start, and I'm gonna go with the Phoenix Suns. I really liked what the Suns did. Getting CP3 is the big headline addition. He's going to be I think CP3 is going to be a guy who can help the Suns get back into the postseason. And that's really what they want. They wanted to get Devin Booker, somebody he could rely on, and getting him is huge. I wasn't a big fan of their draft pick, Jalen Smith, but I see what they're looking for, and they think Jalen Smith's probably a good fit for their system. I love the Jay Crowder signing. I think he's good for the value they got him for, and he's going to be helpful for them. Etuan Moore, I'm not terribly upset about that. I think he can be a guy off the bench who can provide some wing minutes. Dario Saric, like getting him back. And I don't think they lost too much. Obviously, I think Aaron Baines is a tough one, but they can swallow the pill there. I think the Suns got a lot better, and they're a team in the lower echelon of the West. They can probably make some noise in the playoffs. And that's who I'm going to go with.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Mark my words, Aiden's going to have a fantastic year this year, and that's because Chris Paul is going to be on that team. Ayton is going to have a fantastic year this year, and it's going to surprise some people. But the obvious answer for me would be the Hawks, but I'm going to go with someone different. I'm going to go with the Bucks. And why I'm excited about this is because I like the Drew Holiday move. And to be honest, I really like what they did in the draft. And it's going to I've been fighting for this for a while. I've talked when I say this, Nwora, I think, is going to play a big part in their team. And I don't think he's going to start as a big part, but I think going forward he is.
Whoa. Okay. We got a big bomb right here.
Oh, God.
The Houston Rockets have agreed to trade Russell Westbrook to the Washington Wizards for John Wall in a first-round draft pick.
I knew it was coming.
Adrian Wojnarowski.
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. That's
John
crazy.
Wall.
Okay, so, didn't y'all hear John Wall was mad that they were building around Bradley instead of him?
That
was ridiculous. They're mad because they said, you've been hurt for 3 seasons. This guy's getting buckets, so he's the future.
All right.
Wow.
All right. Wow. Are you done? You want to go further into your Bucks point? Or are you good?
No, go ahead. I mean, I feel like Nwora can be good, and I like the move they made with Drew Holiday, and they made some knick-knack moves. So
DJ Augustine is a good one too. I like that.
I like that. So they made knick-knack moves that I like, but that's ridiculous.
Caleb, let's get your answer, and then we'll talk about this trade because this trade's kind of crazy.
Yeah, man. I kind of am surprised. I kind of thought we were going to talk about this team more, but I'm going to go with the Sixers. I think that they had a really good offseason. They got Seth Curry. They got Danny Green. They got Tyrese Maxey, Dwight Howard. I think they had a really good season or offseason. I think they made the moves they needed to make. They got rid of Al Horford finally. He sucks. And I think that this team's primed finally to do something in the playoffs. I think that this will be the first season we finally see Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons work together just because they finally have the shooters around them that are going to be able to score. I think Maxey's going to be a huge piece off the bench. I just think that this team actually has potential of actually doing something in the East this year.
Yeah, I've never been high on the Sixers. I don't think Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid should be on the same team. But that's just me. I don't think Maxi's good either. I don't think he'll be good. And that's once again, that's just me. But I don't trust Simmons and Embiid on the same team. I don't think they can have success together. I think they're both extremely phenomenal talents. But I think they need their own teams.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's always been that talk. We'll have to see how that goes this year. But so Shams just came in with the update. It's John Wall and a protected 2023 first rounder for Russell Westbrook. So basically, let's just say it how it is. It's a swap. It's just a swap of these guys. Off the top, just general reaction. I don't think either team gets better with this trade. I don't think either I just don't think either move is moving the needle for either squad. Maybe the Wizards get a little bit better, but they're not good from the first place.
I think the Wizards are better, but yeah, they're not great to start with.
But they're one of the worst teams in the East already.
Yeah, okay, so they get Russell Westbrook, and at the end of the day, even if Russell Westbrook, let's just say, because I wouldn't bet on this, let's just say Russell Westbrook has a great season, a better season what he's had in the past. They have Bradley Beal and then no one.
Davis Bertans.
I guess, but
he's pretty good.
But they don't have anyone else. That's where it comes. It's just Westbrook and Beal. So they got better, but maybe an A spot in the East, if that. Because it's a pretty competitive East down low. I mean, it's a pretty competitive East all around.
Yeah, it is. It's true. I don't know. I don't know. Caleb?
I mean, yeah, it's just you're trading for a guy that's done something in the past couple seasons. Like, that's really what the Wizards are doing here. You don't really know what John Wall you're getting back. Obviously, he looks good in pro runs, but it's pro runs. Like, you're not getting great comp. He was battling with Michael Beasley one game. Like, that shouldn't be highlights for you, bro. So, I mean, I think that definitely the Wizards win this, but I don't think it really matters.
Does that mean they keep Harden, you think? You think they keep Harden now?
I think they will.
I'm
not sure Harden and Russ was a great fit. And Harden, the Nets, KD basically came out and said it yesterday. He did not talk to Harden about coming to the Nets. And the Nets can't do that anyway anymore with signing Joe Harris.
That's fine. So I don't want to be honest. I didn't want them to. I like Brooklyn the way they are.
So I'm just not sure. I just don't think that the Rockets are gonna trade Harden. But we'll see what happens. But so John Wall and Boogie Cousins reunited. Underlying story. Man, wow. That's some interesting stuff. So that's it for our NBA talk. It turned into a little bit longer discussion than I thought it would, but I think it was some good conversation. Let's go ahead and let's take a break. Let's listen to our sponsor, Anchor, and we will be right back. All right. Fuck the break. That's just for the podcast, editing part. So let's go ahead and get into our NFL picks. It's a pretty interesting week. So week 13 of the NFL season. Slates haven't been great recently, but there's some good games, and we got our fades, our upsets, and our locks of the week. So I want to start off with you, Brad. You got your fade of the week. What team are you fading in this week's slate?
I'm fading the Bears, and at the end of the day, I think they'll beat us, but it's just one of them games where it's their offense is just not good. And I don't care how bad the defense is, they struggle to score points anyway. And we were a catch away from beating them in week 1, and I think we've gotten better for the most part with firing Patricia, so I think we're going to play better anyway. So, it's just one of them games where it's the Bears are better than us, but it's just they can't score the football, and I could see us at least putting up 21, and that's enough to beat them.
Yeah, the Bears, man, it's brutal to watch. But they their defense couldn't do anything against Aaron Rodgers Sunday night, and that was kind of their hope. That's what they were looking for. I see where you're coming from, though. I do. I'm not really confident in the Bears right now. I picked them just because, I think right now they're playing a little bit better than the Lions, but it's not really an accomplishment. So Bears, for me, I do see a scenario where the Lions play better without Matt Patricia. That's something that I definitely could see happening. But I think that game will be kind of boring, honestly.
Yeah, I wouldn't. If you're not a fan, don't watch.
Yeah,
That's just what I would say.
That's for sure. Caleb, any thoughts on this game?
Not really. I feel like y'all kind of hit it. It's gonna be a boring game. I have the Bears to win. I don't know how it's gonna look, but I think the Bears pull it out.
Yeah. All right. Let me give you all my fade of the week. And this is a team that I'm just losing confidence in by the week. Every time I watch them play, I'm just kind of losing confidence, even though I was kind of felt like I was gaining it, and now I'm losing it. The Arizona Cardinals, man, they're up and down. They were up after beating the Bills, and now they're down after losing to the New England Patriots. In a game, by the way, they had no business losing. Like, they have got to be better. They're 6-5. Kyler Murray did not play well on Sunday against New England. I'm fading them against the Rams, but I did not like what I saw from the Rams last week against the Niners. And that's just something that I'm fading the Cardinals because I'm confident that the Rams are so inconsistent that they're going to show up this week. If that makes sense. And because you guys are both picking the Rams, and I'm curious as to your all's thoughts here.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same that me and Leb have been saying all year with the Rams. It's Jared Goff, and how he goes is how the Rams are going to go. If he plays okay football, they can win games. But if he plays like the Jared Goff we know, it's not going to be good for them. To be honest, both of these teams are inconsistent. If we're being honest, we've seen inconsistency out of both of these teams. The Cardinals lose games that they shouldn't lose. They've lost to the Lions, and they shouldn't have lost to us. Murray had an awful game. Murray's been inconsistent throughout the entire year. So it's just, at the end of the day, I guess it comes down to is like what quarterback's going to play better between the other two. Is Goff going to have a competent game? If they do, their defense is good enough. And if Murray has one of his outstanding games, their offense has the ability to outscore the Rams.
Yeah. Caleb, you've seen these two teams. You're an NFC West guy, so.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, it's Goff. It really is just Goff. He had a terrible game last week. And the only reason I picked the Rams is because I don't think I've ever seen Goff have two terrible games like that back to back.
Exactly.
So I think that he picks it up this week, just to the point. I'm not saying he's about to go berserk or anything. It's going to be to the point where they can win the game.
They don't ever have bad weeks back to back.
Right.
It's weird.
That's what I'm thinking.
It's the weirdest team in the history of the NFL. I'm just kidding, but this is one of the weirdest teams this season.
Yeah,
because after beating the Bucs, I was like, the Rams, they're like one of the top three teams in the NFC. Like, their defense is legit. Yeah. Like, they can get after the quarterback. They got Ramsey back there. They got a guy, Darius Williams, who's playing really well. Then they come plopping on their face against the Niners, who are beat up and have Nick Mullins starting at quarterback.
I mean, it's literally what we've preached all year long. Like, Goff doesn't even have to be great. They have the pieces around him on defense and offense that literally all he has to do is play competent football, solid football. He doesn't have to be a superstar. He doesn't mean anything else. But if he goes out there and throws a 2-pick game with only one tutty, like, they're not going to win. So, I mean, all he has to do is play, don't turn the ball over, competent football, and they have the ability to win. Because Sean McVay is a genius.
What I will say, though, is I was watching the game, and this is the first time I've seen Aaron Donald not get double-teamed every single play, and he struggled. Like, it's seriously one of the first times I've ever seen that happen. Like, he was legitimately struggling against the 49ers offensive line. They said maybe, I'd say probably around 40 to 50% of the time there was a double team, and that's just not enough for Aaron Donald. But he was just struggling, man. It just did not seem like Aaron Donald was just 100%.
Interesting trends just before we move on from this game. Darrell Henderson, 10 carries for 19 yards, no touchdowns. Cam Akers, 9 carries for 84 yards and a touchdown.
Cam will start getting a little bit more of the reps, I think, after I think it's going to be Cam's, especially after this year. I think it's Cam's
yeah, spot. They drafted him. He's going to be the guy.
His spot.
Another interesting thing is Cooper Kupp, 2 catches. What do you have, like 10 or 11 against the Bucs the week before? They got to get him involved. He's one of the keys to that offense. As he goes, this offense is going, kind of like you're saying with Jared Goff. I think Goff can be a good quarterback. I've been skeptical of his inconsistencies, but I think if he can figure it out and keep putting it together and just do enough, like we're saying, the Rams are a Super Bowl contender. We already saw them get to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. This team isn't it might not be as special, but with the NFC being as wide open as it is, this is a year they could do it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody doubts like Sean McVay's ability to coach the football. I know I've said it. Caleb may have said it too. Goff is a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Yeah,
he's a Super
lead them
Bowl.
to the Super
That's what I'm
Bowl.
saying. He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. It just he has to it just depends on how his play goes. I mean, this team, the Rams team, is filled with literally offensively the most inconsistent players I've ever seen. Woods and Cup will both go for 2 straight games of 100 yards and then just fall off the face of the map for no reason.
Yeah.
So it's one of the literally the most inconsistent teams we've seen.
Yeah, they're an interesting squad. Caleb, who are you fading this week?
Yeah, man, I'm gonna roll with the Niners again. I'm picking the Bills to win, but I'm fading this game. I think that the Niners showed us that they actually can still play defense even without Bosa, even without everybody they're missing. Fred Warner's a stud. Richard Sherman came back. He played a fantastic game. I think that the defense is good enough to compete with the Bills. It's kind of weird to say that because I think Diggs is still going to get his because they don't really have a speedy number one cornerback, but I think that they really do have a good enough defense to compete with the Bills.
I see. I'm gonna go with you there. I'm picking the Niners, and I think that they're going to be able to neutralize Diggs. I think Jason Verrett's been playing. He's been healthy, and he's been playing the best football of his career. I think he's going to match up with Diggs and play really well, and I think they're going to be able to shut him down. And they're going to try to make Colt Beasley beat them. John Brown's not going to be out there. And the Bills are not good without John Brown. Like, they're not. The numbers are scary for them. They're way down. They didn't play great against the Chargers. They just kind of scooted away with a win there. Had a couple turnovers. I'm liking the Niners, man. Kyle Shanahan, dude, he gets me on the train every time. I just really like what he's done with that team being so shorthanded. They're staying competitive. And I did not expect them to beat the Rams, but here we are, and they did. I'm going to go with them. First home game they're going to play in Arizona this season, so we'll see how that goes. The new home field advantage, if you want to say it's that. I'm going with the Niners, and I'm pretty confident that they're actually going to win this game because I just don't really like what I've seen out of the Bills, especially when they go up against top-tier defenses. Broad, any thoughts here?
Yeah, I have picked the 49ers. With Mostert and Debo back, they can be a decent offense. Both of them are very good. Brandon Ayuk has been playing good this year. I think Shanahan's a genius when it comes to the offensive side of the football. Their offensive line is pretty dominant for the most part. I mean, they were able to run the football and establish that. So they're a good team. I think they win this week. I really do. I think the Bills' defense is not good. I think, like you said, Verrett is somebody who I was watching a game and I've totally he was decent before a bunch of injuries and a lot of other stuff had gone for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's coming back, and it's one of them comeback stories that you're like, all right, well, this guy's completely back, it feels like. And if he can stay healthy, he can be he has the ability to be a number one cornerback, I think.
Yeah.
So I like them.
I think Mostert's going to run the ball a lot. He's going to
Yes.
get some good success against the Bills front, and I'm confident that the Niners will get this one out. Let's move on to upsets of the week. Almost said phase. Upsets of the week. Caleb, I'm going to go to you. What game are you eyeing here as an upset potential? There's a couple of them for sure.
Yeah, man. I went with the Chargers. I think I didn't say – I texted you this. I didn't say that I was 100% sure. I just said I could see an upset here. I think that the Chargers are one of the most bipolar teams in the league. I think that they have a pretty solid offense, but the defense is horrendous. And we saw that the Patriots have the ability to win games even though they shouldn't. So I see the potential of the Patriots really just stealing this one away. Even though it, like I said, shouldn't be close, but I just feel like it has the potential of being in the Patriots sneaking this one away.
Yeah, that's going to be a really interesting game. It's two teams that really try their hardest not to win games, and who's going to be there at the end. It's going to be interesting. Cam Newton's really not been playing well. He's been okay, just doing enough, and they're winning games ugly. And kind of like how the Pats did last year, with that lack of a receiver core. I don't know. I'm not really big on the Pats. I think that Justin Herbert is going to really have a good day against this Patriots defense. It's not as scary as it was last year with all the opt-outs. I'm going to agree with you, though. I think I'm going to go with the Chargers. I'm not even going to put the upset label on it. I'll just go Chargers straight up. Rod, you're picking the Pats. What's getting you to ride with Bill Belly and his boys?
It's just Belichick, man, and the fact that he's just winning a game they had no business winning at the end of the day against the Cardinals. This Chargers team is not nearly as good as that Cardinals team. I think this Cardinals team is better than them. At quarterback, at the end of the day, Murray's been playing good football. So, as much as Herbert's been playing good football. So I feel like Bill Belichick could neutralize Herbert, and we could see maybe a first, bad game from Justin. But
he wasn't great last week. He's had a couple bad games recently. He had that really great game against the Jets, but he has been struggling a little bit recently. He didn't play well against the Broncos. He didn't play well against the Dolphins, if I remember that. So, the Dolphins wasn't great. And then last week was it was an uphill battle. He played okay football. But good point. The Anthony Lynn, Bill Belichick mismatch is one that's really big on paper. I'm going to go with my upset pick. I originally had it as the Texans, and I still do. But I'm gonna let Rod talk about that one because that's the one that he has.
That's tough.
I'm going to go with a real hot take right here. And I know this is absolutely out of left field. I'm putting the Raiders on upset alert, dude.
Whew, it's just I could see that just because it'd be a Raider thing to do after we just praise them and then they go out and they lose 2 straight.
And you know who they're playing, right?
Exactly, the Jets. Yeah.
If I'm the only reason I'm leaning towards giving this an upset potential, I'm not picking them. I'm not picking the Jets.
Yeah.
But last year, I'm going to look it up just to make sure. It was ugly. The Jets, they slapped the Raiders. 34-3. And I know these teams are different. But the Raiders had a winning record at that point too. It was kind of like the same situation. Jets had a couple more wins, but dude, the Jets they're close, man. That's what I'm trying to say. They're a Sam Darnold masterclass away from winning one of these games they're not supposed to win.
That's
and
true.
The Raiders, it was awful last week.
Bad against a Falcons team that lets up a lot of points.
I thought Drew Lock's performance against the Falcons was bad, but Derek Carr with a horrendous game after what he did against the Chiefs. Come on, man. The Raiders make it hard to get on the bandwagon, and they're a team that I'm not.
This Jets defense really isn't bad as their offense, and the fact that Adam Gase isn't a good coach. This Jets defense isn't awful. I could see them having a good game as well and holding Carr. If Darnold with Mims and Crowder, if they end up having if Darnold's able to sling that mug, maybe they put up a 24 spot or a 30 spot on these.
I'm telling you, bro, they are a Sam Darnold good game away from winning a game.
Absolutely, Darnold's got he's flash talent. So maybe we see another flash this weekend. It'd be a Raider thing to do.
Please stop giving Frank Gore 15 carries. It is an absolute waste. The guy is Frank Gore, legend, NFL legend. He's just going to get you 2 yards every time, and that's it. 15 carries for 31 yards is not an attractive stat line.
It's similar to what I kept saying, what I kept seeing at AP. Every time, man, Matt Patricia was fond of AP for so long. And I was like, listen, the only reason we brought in AP was to get goal line touchdowns. So I don't see why Frank Gore will go down in history as one of the greatest backs to ever play this game. But let's be honest, he's swamp ass right now.
He's just garbage. He's not good playing too much.
He's not good at football anymore, and that's okay. Sometimes you got to give it up.
But I think that game will be interesting to watch. It's going to be for sure interesting to watch, see how the Raiders bounce back because they got slapped by the Falcons, and especially that offense did. Josh Jacobs banged up, may not play, sprained ankle. That's a huge loss. Devontae Booker's played well, but Josh Jacobs is a really good running back, and he's a guy that they probably rely on to beat the Jets. Who knows? I'm just throwing that out there. But I think we're all going to pick the Raiders, but just be skeptical. I'm Ron, your upset of the week. I kind of already hinted at it, but what you going with here?
The Texans here, and I know that they lost Will Fuller, but they have Deshaun Watson, and the Colts looked vulnerable defensively last week. I don't know what it was. Henry was, and I know that it's Derrick Henry versus Duke Johnson. So at the end of the day, the Texans don't have a good running game, but it looked vulnerable, and Deshaun could Brandon Cooks could be due for a big game, and I could see Deshaun Watson having a big game because he's been playing great football lately.
Yeah, they are. The Texans are playing really well. They're really just kind of hitting their stride right now. Deshaun is on another level, and he's really elevated his ceiling. I think a lot of people are starting to finally give him the respect that he deserves. And I got called crazy for saying he was better than Lamar in the offseason, but I just thought that
This year, absolutely.
it was more sustainable for what he's been doing. I think it's more sustainable. Sean, I mean, he just got an all-time terrible defense, really offensive line, and this is the first year you've kind of seen them give him a lot of weapons, and look what has happened. Will Fuller, career year, as we talked about. Brandon Cooks playing really well. Randall Cobb's been playing good football. I mean, they've had some guys in there that have just been playing well. And the Colts, dude, it was embarrassing.
It was bad.
In a game for the division lead, and they just got embarrassed, flat out embarrassed. Derrick Henry, dude, that guy's a beast. November on, Derrick Henry is Jesus Christ.
Be scared.
Jesus Christ.
If you have the Titans on your schedule, be scared because he's coming.
Yeah, it's bad. But who knows? Caleb, you're going with the Colts here. I don't know how you ride with the Colts off last week, man. I'm going to be real with you.
I think it's going to be one of those games where they literally just milk the clock as much as they can, just run the football down their throats and just try and just hold the offense off the field as much as they can. I think that you're going to see really, really long drives from the Colts, and I think it's going to be hopefully productive with how weak the Texans' defense has been recently with the run. But I think that there is very high potential that the Texans steal this one if they're able to score a lot of points. But the Colts' game plan has to be to just milk the clock and try and keep the offense off the field.
Yeah.
Watt's been playing good football. Watt's been actually playing really good football for them.
Yeah, JJ's having a really good year. He stayed healthy. Keep knocking on wood. Hope he can stay healthy. I think they're on their way to a 7-9 finish, honestly. That's what I'm going to go with the Texans. Really like the way they've been playing. Next game, let's go ahead and do locks of the week. Caleb, you're a cheeser, bro. You're picking your favorite team for lock of the week. That's something you're picking for them. I'm doing something else, but I'll talk about that later. Seahawks hosting the Giants. I don't think they're going to have Danny Dimes, man. He's been banged up, bro. Got banged up with a hamstring. Even if Danny Dimes played, I think they might be able to keep it close, but they probably wouldn't win. Seahawks, 10-point favorites, 4:05 p.m. on Fox, bro. What are we thinking about this game?
I think that we're going to see the Seahawks try and solidify the run game some more. I think that we're not going to see the air raid that we saw early season. I think that even though the Giants secondary isn't the greatest, that it seems that when Russ has to do too much, he just does too much and throws picks. So I think we're going to solidify the run game, and it's going to be just a nitty-gritty, get down the field, score touchdowns, maybe a couple of deep plays, but I think he's just going to be trying to get the offense their confidence back, and then hopefully the defense plays better. Jamal and Quandre Diggs both had great games last week, so hopefully they can keep it up.
Yeah, they played well, but it's Carson Wentz. I don't know how much stock to put into it right now. With the way he's been playing, I'm just not sure. But you made a good point. Seahawks have been passing the ball less. They're going into run. They're running the ball more. So maybe we're not letting Russ cook as much anymore. We're kind of cutting down on that as you don't want to wear him out. They have DK and Tyler. They're both beasts. Tyler doesn't do anything when DK is going off, though. That's the issue with me. It's one or the other, really. It seems like. I can't remember the last time they both played really well. Giants defense has been really impressive. I've talked about this before. Joe Judge is doing a phenomenal job in New York. They're probably the team that I'd pick to win the division. I'm kind of tossing a coin between them and Washington right now. It's not an accomplishment by any means to win the NFC East, but for a team that I think we had them ranked as our 32nd defense before the season started, and they have really impressed. And they got the right guys in there, and they're playing really good football. And even without Saquon, you got to think they lost Saquon. This team has really played a lot better than people thought.
Gallman's been playing good football.
He's played really well. Touchdown machine, apparently. Yeah. So, yeah, we're all going with the Seahawks, though. That is an interesting team. I just want to also set aside the fact that DK Metcalf, he's a great player. he is nowhere near Calvin Johnson's level yet. And people are being ridiculous.
People comparing him are ridiculous. I mean, okay, I know I said something. I said he reminded me of Calvin Johnson, just the way he was built.
He does, but
comparing him right now, saying he's Calvin Johnson 2.0, I don't think. No. Calvin
there
Johnson
is never going to be a Calvin Johnson 2.0.
Calvin Johnson was one of the greatest. If he stays in the league, probably could have solidified himself
He
as
would have retired as the greatest receiver ever.
But so
my problem with DK is the drops, dude. They're so much of an issue for me. If I'm not mistaken, Caleb, he caught a fade route over Slay, contested catch on a drive in the fourth quarter. Then the next play, or like next few plays, they throw up another fade, and he beats Slay, and he drops it. And I'm like, dude, that's a touchdown, and you're just dropping that. And we had the one, oh man, there was one in the Cowboys game that was ugly. Dude, DK has got to solidify the drops. If he can do that, I'm on board. He's not top 5 yet. Stop giving him the top 5 label. There are 5 better receivers. There are probably 10 right now that are better. DK is right outside. But let's slow the brakes. People are getting a little too excited about DK Metcalf right now. He's getting a huge workload, and I'd envision that it's a pretty big benefit when you have Russell Wilson throwing you the football.
Yeah,
I mean, we would all agree on that.
He's at his ceiling's through the roof, though. Like
it is through the roof. As long as he stays in Seattle, it's through the roof. And if he can stay healthy and keep it his physique right now, he can be one of the best receivers in the league. I mean, he could be top 10 at the end of the year. He has to keep progressing. My lock of the week, I'm going to do it because I just know what's going to happen, and I'm not going to be disappointed. I'm not going to be disappointed. We had this conversation 5 weeks ago. Broncos were coming off a win against the Pats, and then they were coming into a game against the Chiefs. They'd lost 9 in a row. I was like, okay, maybe they have a chance. Maybe they can keep it close. They got blown out 43-16. I don't expect anything to change here. They're going on the road. Sunday Night Football. Sheesh, man, I wish we got flexed out, dude. I don't want to get embarrassed on national TV. And Mahomes, dude, is playing at a different level right now. I think he's opened up the gap in the MVP voting, and I think he's going to run away with it because he's just playing at a historic pace. And what he did against the Bucs, man, it was a special game. It was a special one. I'm curious. The spread is 14 in favor of Kansas City. Do you guys think that they cover that and they beat the Broncos by 14 or more?
Yeah, I think they beat them by 21. I probably won't be tuning in to watch this game because I'll probably have better things to do at this time. But I could see them beating them by 21. The Bucs made it surprisingly close last week.
Yeah, Chiefs took their foot off the gas. And Andy Reid sucks at clock management. So
absolutely. And Tyreek Hill just was eating all day long. So all they had to do was go back. All they had to do was go back to him. He got the first down. No shot.
Yeah, Tyreek that was insane. That's one of the most insane performances I've seen in a while. And most of it was in the first quarter.
You want to talk about top 5? He's in it. I think
he is. He's definitely in it. That solidified it. He's just a lot more than a speedster. I'm concerned though. Broncos just lost their best corner, Bryce Callahan. He's on IR.
Oh Lord.
And that he was the guy who he held him in check in the first matchup. But I'm worried. And hopefully Drew Lock plays well. That's all I can ask for. Make it respectable, play well, give me something to look forward to. But I'm interested to see how he does play under the spotlight, even though I think it's going to end up bad. So I'm locking in the Chiefs. They're going to win this game. There's absolutely no shot the Broncos beat the Chiefs. Not right now, not in their current state. They haven't beaten them in 10 games, and it's not going to change. Moving on. Broad, good luck.
Yeah, I have the Packers. They're playing the Eagles this week. The Eagles are not good at football. The Packers are good at football. So the Packers are going to win that football game. But anyway, I think the Giants will win that division. Like you said, Tristan, I think they have the wins over Washington. Both of them, I believe. They're 2-0 against them.
Yeah, they've beaten Washington twice.
Yep. So I think that gives them the thing. I think for the Eagles fan, it's time to move on from Doug Peterson, their GM, and Carson Wentz. I think it's time to go ahead and clean house. The draft picks have been ugly. Jalen Reagor was not a good pick. I think Rieger.
I'm not mad about Jalen Rieger as much as I am JJ Arcega-Whiteside.
That's true. I don't know. It's just I was watching tape because someone brought it up, and all the receivers that went after him, like
it's Jefferson and Ayuk, right? That's
yeah,
in
Jefferson.
Claypool.
Yeah, Jefferson, Ayuk, Claypool. It's just like
Rieger hasn't had the time to make an impact like that.
I was watching tape because someone said that Rieger's separation was awful, and I watched the tape, and he couldn't get separation at all, and it was really bad. So I just, like I said, I don't know. I don't agree with what they've done. The Eagles are awful. They need to clean house completely, starting with the quarterback, the coach, and then moving probably to the GM, and then it's pretty much all I have. They're not good at football.
The problem with me and the Eagles is J.J. Arcega-Whiteside's career stats. DK Metcalf nearly took those. He nearly surpassed those in one game on Monday night.
That's ridiculous.
J.J. Arcega-Whiteside is terrible.
Yeah.
It's awful. Yep. And I think he also got drafted over Terry McLaurin too.
Yep.
So what are we doing here, Philadelphia? What's the scouting process?
That's what I'm saying. Like, they literally need to clean house. Like, everybody. Like, Doug Peterson doesn't look like he wants to coach there. The GM's picking has been ridiculously awful. And Wentz, maybe
I don't think Peterson's a terrible coach.
He's not.
I think Wentz is just that bad right now. He has lost it.
Yeah.
He has absolutely lost all his confidence because their O-line is awful. He didn't have trust in his receivers last year, and he got that injury, and that injury ruined him.
If Wentz wants to be anything like he was back what we remembered, he needs to be on a different team.
He needs an O-line, dude. That's it. Like, that's really it. He needs an O-line. He's seeing ghosts, and that's what you fear with your young quarterbacks. You want to protect them because if you don't, you look at Carson Wentz as the prime example, a guy who's reached a ceiling, but now he's going on the trend down.
Injuries and at the end of the day, as terrible as he's been, the pieces that Philadelphia has surrounded him with have been awful. Like, the money they spent on the Alshon Jeffries of the world and the Deshaun Jacksons of the world wasn't a good idea. Like, they got people like Deshaun hasn't touched the field but for 2 games as an Eagle, I think.
Yeah, it's something like that in his second stint there.
Jefferson is barely ever on the field, and they don't draft well for him. Wentz hasn't been playing good football by any means. He needs to get out of there. Doug Peterson is a good coach, but he doesn't look like he wants to coach there. So he needs to leave. And then the GM,
probably upset.
Yeah, and then the GM just needs to leave because he's not good at being a GM.
Yeah, terrible. I will say this, not as a Miles Sanders fantasy owner, but just as a Miles Sanders guy. I like watching him play. Please give him the ball more and put him in positions to succeed, dude. They're putting way too much pressure on Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
They are throwing the ball. What did they throw it, like 40 times against the Seahawks?
Not going to win games.
Dude, you do not want to get in a shootout with Russell Wilson this year. It's just not what you want to do. You're not going to throw the ball and beat him in the air. Just give it to Miles Sanders. He's been one of the best running backs in the league when he's been healthy this year, leading he's 3rd in the league in yards per carry. I just need more out of him. Involve him in the passing game. I thought that was coming, but it's not. And I think he's one of their best players, and they're not using him nearly enough. And they're just in favor. They're using guys like Jeffrey, who we're talking about, is just not reliable anymore at this point in his career. So Packers locking him in. On their side, Aaron Rodgers, Mahomes, and Wilson, those are the 3 guys for MVP. They've run away with it. Rodgers is playing ridiculous football. He makes it look easy against some of these teams. He didn't play well. He didn't play great against the Colts, but he kept them in the game. And then and a game against the Bears where people did not expect them to do that well. They expected it to be a low score. Rodgers torched them. I mean, he put up a 40
It was ridiculous.
He made it look easy. And the Bears' pass defense has been great this year. Rodgers is on another level. He's playing great football. Devontae Adams up there too. Robert Tonyan has been he's been a really good breakout player. And Lazard being back is huge. I think it's really helped them. Packers, they're probably right now the team that I would pick in the NFC, and that's not confidently. By the way, that's I've talked about it with you, Rod. I don't think you can make an NFC pick until the playoffs because it's going to be whatever team is hot at the right time. And because, we're seeing it. The Bucks 3 weeks ago, we probably would have had them all in the Super Bowl. Now, I'm not even thinking them to win a first-round playoff game.
It's definitely about who's hot. Seahawks, we thought we're going to be contenders, and then we watched that defense play football.
But now I'm back because I think the defense is improving.
It's
And
just
like,
it's up and down. It's up and
yeah,
it's a roller coaster in the NFC. You know, it feels like the Chiefs are solidifying themselves easily in the AFC. You can speak Steelers all you want. I'll tell you right now, Lamar Jackson plays football today, they win that game.
yeah, the Steelers just they keep playing good enough to win, but it's not going to be good enough to win against Mahomes and the Chiefs. And even honestly, I wouldn't pick them against the Titans right now. I know they
Derrick
beat them
Henry,
earlier this year, but they got away with it. They got away, and I just don't know, man. I'm not big on the Steelers. I've been on that train, and today was scary for me because I thought they were turning a little bit of a corner. Nope, they're right back where they are.
that Buck
Um,
pre-injury, I saw that. It was a slip. He literally slipped and fell, I think, on a rush where
oh, that's brutal.
and
That's not good.
it was bad. I remember seeing the play and I was like, did he really hurt himself right there?
That's a
So it's a
huge loss
big
because they love
loss.
blitzing,
Yes.
and that's a huge thing. And they're not going to be able to do that. Their back seven is not going to be able to hold up against Mahomes. I'll tell you that.
Mm-mm.
Let's go into the games that we're not locking in. First up, Saints at Falcons. Taysom Hill, dude. I want to pick the Falcons, dude. I might do it. I might switch my pick. Taysom Hill is the worst quarterback in the league. The worst starting quarterback in the league.
He played good football his first game, like decent football, and then last week was awful.
You don't be fooled by the score of the Broncos game, by the way. 31-3. Okay, yeah, they ran it up. All right, nice. Sean Payton, I had a lot of respect for you before that game, but I don't respect him as much. Dude's like running it up in the fourth quarter, just running the ball with Latavius Murray and just scoring. And I get it to a certain point, but come on, man. Taysom Hill can't throw the ball. If they have to rely on him in the playoffs, they're a first-round exit. I'm dead serious. I don't know why Jameis Winston's sitting behind this guy. There's no excuse. Okay, Taysom Hill can run the ball.
Yeah,
Cool.
Peyton is convinced that Taysom Hill can play good football. And I'm sorry. And I don't want to shove Lamar Jackson, but you can't be Lamar Jackson, man. You can't be the Kyler Murrays of the world. Just because you have legs and you can run the football doesn't mean you can play good quarterback. That's not how it works. You actually have to be talented at throwing the football to play quarterback. And
I'm going to go with the Falcons. I'm changing my pick. I know that's going to be wrong because I know the Falcons just, if you bet on them and you pick them, they're going to let you down. It's just how it is. But off the win against the Raiders, I got to ride the high. They've been playing really well under Raheem Morris, so I'm going to keep going on that train. I'm going to change my pick to the Falcons. Let's move on from that game because talking about Taysom Hill is depressing. Browns-Titans. This is a really good game. This could be a really good one. A lot of people wanted this game flexed to Sunday Night Football. I had no preference. I figured either way it's going to be a bad game because while the Browns are 8-3, I'm still not sold. And I don't know, man. I'm going to go and hand over the floor. I'm going to hear Caleb's thoughts because I know that you watched a lot of the Titans this year because of Derrick Henry. And I think this one has the chance to be ugly.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, man, because once Derrick Henry gets it going, the Titans' offense it's terrifying because you get one-on-one with A.J. Brown and Corey Davis, and it's just play action city, deep shot, cash money every single time. So as long as Derrick Henry gets it going, there's no reason this game should be close. Baker Mayfield's not good. That offense isn't great. It shouldn't be close, but I feel like there's the chance that Derrick Henry doesn't have the great game we expect, and the offense kind of shuts down, but he does enough for them to win. I don't see a way that the Titans don't win here. I just think that the score is going to be very fluctuating.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think Derrick Henry right now is on a different level, and when he gets hot, dude, it's hard to stop. Yeah. And the Browns defense isn't anything special. I think it's going to be a low scorer. I think it's going to be two teams that are going to pound the rock. We know how the Browns are, dude. They're just going to run that football. I'm going to go with the Titans as well. I think A.J. Brown is one of the most underrated receivers in the league right now. He's a man among boys, man. Like that Ravens touchdown he had the other day.
That was ridiculous.
Like 2 weeks ago. That's ridiculous. And then he had a big touchdown against the Colts. It was ridiculous. He just outran them, and they exposed the Colts. The defense that was really good, they just ran all over it. DeForest Buckner was a huge loss for Indianapolis.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm going to go Titans as well. Broad, any thoughts on this game?
I mean, the Browns pay Baker Mayfield millions of dollars to turn around and hand the ball off to Nick Chubb. That's basically what they do. It's upsetting. It's going to be a boring game to watch. The Titans will probably win easily. Browns, if they make the playoffs, will be the worst playoff team to make a playoffs. The worst team to make a playoffs in a while in the AFC in a while because they're not good at football. I don't think. I think their schedule has been cake. I think that it's ridiculous that they have these amount of wins. When they play good teams, they're going to lose, and they're going to be a first round exit if they make the playoffs.
Yeah, that's definitely something. Really boring game. Not going to talk about this right now. I am going to talk about this because I am curious because we haven't really gotten to talk about it. Bengals at Dolphins. Joe Burrow, really sad injury. Really sucks to see him go down like that 2 weeks ago. And now the Bengals are starting Brandon Allen, who I watched last year. Not an awful quarterback, but he's not great. He's not going to be like a savior. Bengals will probably lose out. But I do want to talk about the Dolphins because 2 weeks ago they played Denver. They benched Tua for Ryan Fitzpatrick. And then Tua's out this week with an injury. And as much as you can convince me that he hit his thumb on a helmet in practice, I don't know, man. I think the Dolphins are trying to sell the media that Tua's hurt so they can bench him in favor of Fitzpatrick. I'm curious as to what your all's thoughts are, and how do you think Flores is handling this situation? Because I think Flores has done a great job. This is not a good thing. This is not good.
No, it's not good. I don't think that they should hide the fact that they just benched him because Tua's not playing well right now. That's okay. He's shown flashes to be good. He still has the capabilities. I don't see Flores just coming out and saying, "Hey, Fitzpatrick gives us the best shot at winning games right now," because they're in the playoff spot hunt. Like they very much can make a playoff spot. And I think Flores sees it as Fitzpatrick can be the best shot. So I think that's good on his part, but I don't think it's good to lie to us and tell us that it's because Tua's hurt. I just think he sees Fitzpatrick as the best shot for them to make a playoff spot right now.
Yeah, I get it. I don't think that's true at all. I think Flores is out of his mind if he thinks that, because Fitzmagic is he's going to give you the 2 interception, 1 touchdown game. It's going to be a weekly thing. He'll get your hopes up, and then it'll all come crashing down. And I think it's detrimental to a young quarterback to just pull him in these situations. Pulling out Tua Tagovailoa, you got to let him develop. You got to let him sit in there, take those reps. I know he was getting beaten up in the Denver game, but he wasn't hurt. They just weren't. They wanted to win that game. And at some point, your quarterback's going to have to face a 2-minute drill. Let him go here now in a year where you didn't expect to make the playoffs. I don't think anybody expected the Dolphins to make the playoffs. Nobody would have been upset if they didn't. But I think it was a mishandling of the situation. I'm not a fan of it. And I hope we get to see Tua back on the field soon, because I think he's shown, like you said, promise, has to be better and has to be more confident in the pocket. But that O-line doesn't do him any favors. Caleb, any thoughts on Flores' decision here?
Yeah, I feel like you might as well roll with your young guy, because even if they do make the playoffs, they're not good enough to really compete. So it's a washed year, if anything. So might as well roll with your young guy, allow him to get the chemistry with your receivers, allow him to figure out the plays. Like you said, run a 2-minute drill, get these situations down that you can't go with in practice. You're not going to find the same tension. You're not going to find the same pressure. So you might as well allow him to get this game time, these minutes, because he's going to be your starter for the next couple of years. So why hide him from games if you're planning on him being your future?
Yeah, it's a good point.
Little thing that I noticed. Do you think Lawrence watched the Burrow injury? Just crazy thought here. He sees the Burrow injury and was like, I don't know if I want to go and get injured. I know he'd get guaranteed dollars, but maybe stay a year in college to maybe possibly. And I feel like it'd be a slim. I'm talking like 0.01, but just seeing that injury,
yeah, maybe
he maybe
it's that small.
Do you just maybe the thought crossed his mind? Like, I think
the thought definitely crosses his mind. I mean, any quarterback who's like coming out of college is going to think like that. It's like, do I want to get stuck in that situation? You don't. But the Jets have some cornerstones on their O-line. Mekhi
Becton,
has been the best left tackle out of all the rookies thus far. I think Lawrence, he's definitely gone. But I do think the thought crossed his mind. I think he'll go to the Jets, and hopefully he can turn that franchise around, because they have not been great in a long time. Next up game is going to be the Vikings hosting the Jaguars. We've already kind of given the Jaguars their airtime. They're a really bad franchise. We know that. I do want to talk about the Vikings, though. I think that Even as someone who said at our midseason episode, I said I think the Vikings will be a team that really surprises people in the second half. I didn't expect them to kind of be in the playoff hunt, and here they are, 5-6, and the NFC is a absolute mess. They're like a game or two out of the playoffs, and they have a pretty manageable schedule. I'm curious, do you guys think the Vikings can make a late push here? I know we're all picking them to win this game against the Jags, but do you think they can make a late push at the playoffs?
Yeah, I do. Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins can play good football. Thielen and Jefferson are good wide receivers. They have a shot.
Yeah, that's the offense. They have a lot of weapons, and the
Yeah.
defense has to play better. That's the main thing. Caleb, any thoughts here?
I think, like you said, they have a manageable schedule. I think that as long as players play well, like they should, I think that they should win these games. I will say though, Dalvin was limited in practice today, so that'll be interesting to watch because I don't know if they'll hold him out a game because it's the Jaguars or whatever they do with that. But
they could win the game without Dalvin.
Yeah, for sure.
They could win
That's
this
what I'm
game
saying.
without
I'm just
Dalvin.
see if they bench him for rest or whatever, load management, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I think that they're a good enough team to compete for that last spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Kirk Cousins playing pretty well recently, and I've been impressed with that. Let's see what's up next. Football team. They played the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, and it was ugly for the Cowboys. Football team defense is nasty. Offense is
McLaurin's nasty.
McLaurin and Gibson are really good.
Nasty.
And then the other guys are all right. Like, yeah, Peyton Barber shouldn't get touches, but he does. And, they constantly focus on J.D. McKissick. Don't need that. You have Antonio Gibson. Can the football team pull off an upset here at Pittsburgh on the Monday game, the doubleheader? Pittsburgh's favored by 9.5. Caleb, I'll go to you. What's your thoughts here? Can you see a football team getting the upset here?
I want to say yes, just because I just don't want the Steelers to go 16-0, but I don't see it happening. I really don't. I think that the Steelers are just a better team. I think that it's not going to come down to very much. They're the better team, both sides of the ball. I think that they're going to win this game. It's not going to be, a blowout or anything because they've shown that they don't like to blow out bad teams, but they're going to keep it close for no reason, but they'll win the game.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, it's going to be one of them games where they just do just enough again. Where they do just enough to beat them. It's going to piss you off because you know that they don't deserve to win that game, but they're going to end up winning that game. I mean, I guess they have a shot now with Bud Dupree going down again. I guess Washington it's a better shot for them because now the front seven isn't as scary as you expected, but still, TJ Watt's having a phenomenal year. So, like I said, the defense will do its part and the offense will do just enough.
Yeah, that is a good point. I'm worried about Alex Smith because I know the Steelers are going to blitz a lot, and I don't really like watching him play football because I know what can happen at any given moment.
Unless he's playing the Lions. Now, if Alex Smith is playing the Lions, he is one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. But we're all going with the Steelers there. I don't think there's enough of an upset potential for us to be wary of. Last game of the week, and it's a game it kind of got some eyes, I guess. I mean, it's going to be a lone Tuesday game, 8:00 p.m. on Fox. The Cowboys, I'm not really caring about them. I am interested to see the Ravens, and I don't know if they'll have Lamar back. No one knows yet. They just played a game today, this afternoon, and they played pretty well without Lamar. I think there's not much you can expect. They had a lot of guys out, and they played pretty well. They almost had the Steelers. They almost had a shot there at the end. Trace McSorley came in through a touchdown. RG3 got banged up. He didn't play great, but the defense was really impressive to me. I thought they made a lot of good plays. I don't know if let's go under the assumption that Lamar is back, and I know the Ravens would presumably be favored here. What do we need to see from the Ravens because they're on a 3-game losing streak? They're 6-5 now. They're out of the playoffs right now. If the playoffs were to start today, what do you all expect to see from the Ravens if Lamar gets back, and if there is a chance the Cowboys win this game?
You go ahead, Love.
I will say that if I am a skeptical Ravens fan, I need to see them run it up. I need to see them score as many points as possible. I don't care how the other team feels. Don't care about any of their feelings. I need to see them score the ball. They have been lackluster at that, to say the least. I think that their defense has shown spurts of being good, but if I'm a Ravens fan, I just want to see Lamar kick some ass. I just want to see him go 100 yards on the ground, score at least 3 touchdowns, and just have a game. That's what I would want to see.
Yeah, so the schedule favors them right now. So here's their last 5 games: Cowboys, Browns, Jags, Giants, Bengals. So
4-1. I think they'll lose to the Browns.
I want to say that, but they handled the Browns.
Yeah, I know they did. I don't know.
They handled them. And
It's
Lamar,
at Cleveland, right?
yeah, probably that's the Monday night game actually on ESPN.
Yeah, if it's at Cleveland, well, if it's prime time, they're going 5-0. The Browns are not going to show up in prime time.
So realistically, if I'm looking at it, they could go 11-5.
They could win out for sure. You always gotta say they'll lose one just for the upset potential.
Just because it happens.
So 10-6 probably gets them into the playoffs.
Absolutely. So if I'm this week, hopefully, if you don't see Lamar, you gotta hope that Trace can come in and just run the offense. They probably will have Andrews and Dobbins and all back.
Yeah, they'll have Dobbins and Ingram back for sure.
So they'll have the firepower offensively, and I know they don't have much, but they'll have enough to beat the Cowboys. And so I feel like they could. If we don't see Lamar, they need to win this game. But if we do see Lamar, like Caleb said, they need to win it like convincingly. I think it's by 2 touchdowns, they need to win this game. They need to beat the Cowboys by 2 touchdowns if Lamar plays. If not, they just need to squeak by and get past that game, because after that they've got a really soft schedule. They just need to finish 11-5, get a spot in the playoffs, and do some damage in the playoffs, hopefully.
Yeah, that'll be, the schedule is great. It's manageable for them. And like our buddy Eric was tweeting today about them, and he was like, are they going to make the playoffs? I'm like, dude, they're probably going to make it just because of that schedule. It's so soft. And but I agree with you guys. I think that if Lamar is back, they need to win convincingly. They need to gain some respect back of the NFL. Experts. A lot of people are doubting them right now. They have not played well recently. So it'll be interesting to see, but they need to stop this losing skid, and this is the perfect team to do it against the Dallas Cowboys in a primetime game nonetheless. So we're all going with the Ravens here, and I think that they're going to be favored in this game. There's no spread yet for it, but they should be favored as soon as they figure out if Lamar is playing or not. I think either way. So that is it for the Week 13 slate, and so that's it. By the way, just going to go ahead and give myself a pat on the back here. I won college football. We stopped it because it's getting to be a mess right now. It's so messy. Like I told Caleb, we had like 12 or 13 games on the schedule last week. At the end of it all being said and done, we had 6 games played. It was just like, it's not worth it at this point. So many games are getting canceled, postponed, and it's just a mess to follow. But I got the college football, and I'll give an update for the NFL standings right quick, which are changing every couple minutes. Broad is 10 games back in 3rd place. I'm 3 games back, and Caleb is in the lead. So it's just it goes up and down. It really depends. But we will see what happens. I know that I'm going to go watch some basketball. I'm going to watch the end of this Gonzaga-West Virginia game. And I'm really excited to watch Illinois and Baylor. That's going to be a good one.
Yes, I'm excited. I want to watch him in Illinois basketball.
Can we talk about Jalen Suggs for a second?
He's in the game.
Yeah, he came back.
Can we talk about that, though?
Wow.
So I just found a clip, and they were showing him warm up on the sideline, and he's putting literally no pressure on his leg, and he's coming out and playing. I don't know if that's smart. I don't know if he's just trying to be,
that's ballsy.
A leader.
Yeah, that's ballsy.
That is just, I don't know about that.
To be honest, he doesn't even need to play. He doesn't need to play. If he got injured this year, he's still going to be a high draft pick this year.
Yeah.
So I don't see risking anything at this point for no reason. I know.
Any sense to me, but
I know, like, people look at it, and I could look at it too as like, all right, he wants to play basketball. Then he's not just here just because he wants to get to the NBA. Like, he actually wants to play basketball. So maybe you could look at it that way, but I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah, yep. I don't understand it, but if he wants to come out and ball, let him do it.
Yeah,
we will see what happens.
Hey, no cards though. No cards, baby. Beat the Tops.
Y'all's boys are playing well. They are playing well for sure. that is going to be it for today's episode. We are going to be back next week with NFL picks and probably some more discussions. I really did like the NBA discussion we had today. I thought it was one of our best discussions in a while. But that'll be it. I'm going to go ahead and stop